So we've been witnessing I'd say, goddamn, what is that? An absolute giant public opinion shift over the past 48 hours. It took 2 days, my dude, of everybody's opinion to be pretty much swayed. And that's weird. It has been a funny when odd situation, but not like this hasn't happened before because of the efforts of, like, you know, clearly talented individuals behind some of this stuff. It's not a bad thing. No, what I'm saying is that everybody had an opinion about DJ Fettuccine and his inclusion in Fatal Fury. Everybody was like, okay, we got real lifer number 2. It's Jover, bro. It's the end. This is awful. Like, clearly whatever influence is going into this is going to be absolutely terrible, and it's the worst. Who is this guy? I've never heard of him before. What in the hell is going on? I had an interview with another actor that portrayed a character that nobody liked. Admittedly, was one of the ones that spoke about that. I had a unique opportunity to team up with Alex Lee because he was playing Bruce Lee in Naraka, and I also had my character in Naraka. We teamed up and did like a stream together. So anyway, who is this person? Well, Alex is a pretty big voice actor nowadays. He's in most things, but he was also Luke in Street Fighter. He was Luke in Street Fighter 5, and he was Luke in Street Fighter 6. And to be completely honest, a lot of us were pretty critical of his character just in general. His inclusion, why he's there, the reasoning for it being so blatantly obvious. And this was like Street Fighter 5. So it was obvious that, oh, this guy is now going to be the carryover. Now we're gonna have to deal with him all over again in Street Fighter 6. Jeez, dude, this is going to be absolutely brutal. But there was a pretty big shift in general. And granted, this wasn't like a real person, but there was a lot of Alex that got put into that character. He even told me that, like, by being a part of the fighting game community influenced a lot of the character's dialogue and lines, almost like he's connected in some way. So when Luke would scream like, let's go, you know, type of shit, he's like, I literally got that from your intro and watching tournaments and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, you know, you're right, because let's go is such like a big part of like the FGC. I got to speak with him about all of this shit. This exact same situation happened.
I never expected the character to blow up the way it did now, because when he first came out, people hated him.
Yeah, the first version didn't go super great just because he was like, it was obvious what the character was, and people weren't like ready to accept that.
No, I mean, I saw your streams, bro. I saw your reaction.
Hey,
I remember what you said. I remember every word you said. I think
he ain't wrong, you know. I had to own it, dude. I'm like, yeah, the confidence had not really built up that much. So why are we talking about this? Why is this related to DJ Fettuccine? Well, we had a couple of characters that were introduced into something, and the way they were initially presented was not a positive spin. What it was from our perspective was not particularly interesting, but what had happened over the next couple of days and how its implementation was handled, especially in the case of Luke, a lot of the reason that you think Luke is funny and cool and memed is because of Alex. Like, he put that effort in to make like funny ass moments and to include a lot of what the inspiration was for that character behind the scenes was actually put on center stage of social media. So yeah, no kidding. I think like Alex carried Luke's relatively bad reputation on his back, and is one of the reasons why Luke is kind of like an endearing ass, we're going to Memphis sort of character, and she turned him into like sort of a relatable and wholehearted meme, which is kind of nice. You know, I think that worked out. What we are witnessing happening right now is the goddamn Ganacci 180 revolution, where everything about Ganacci in the first reveal was the worst thing ever. I'm going to go back and I'm going to own up. And there's reasons behind this. Like, again, people are like, oh, y'all were so hard on him at the start. How could you be so hard on this poor guy? There was good reason, okay? About a month ago when we found out about it. Why are these guest characters getting so much flack? I would like to remind you of something that has actually happened and something that was celebrated. This happened and was celebrated. Fatal Fury did get guest characters that everyone was happy about. It did. It got guest characters that people were looking forward to and actually had a reason to be there. Something was building up to their presence being in this game, and then they were eventually announced and people were like, cool, cool. That's sick. Yep, because that has thematically fit. It feels like these characters sort of share a universe together. So now, granted, they are fictional characters. So from an actual fighting game, they fight. Number one, they fight. So now, yeah, people have almost like forgotten that this happened. But yes, this game has already gotten guest characters that people are fine with. You know what? Ken makes a lot more sense in a Fatal Fury. I've been saying this for a long time. Ken makes way more sense in a Fatal Fury than Ryu does. There's a reason why these feel so off. And it's that the inclusion of real lifers in fighting games is a weird thing. It's a weird concept that we haven't really visited much of. And we talked about it not that long ago, which I literally need to update. The Dimitri Vegas situation. Dimitri Vegas in Mortal Kombat 11 was weird, but Dimitri Vegas in Mortal Kombat 11 is no longer one of the weirdest things. It's not. That now unapologetically goes to a DJ that the majority of us have never heard of being announced as a full realized character in a game, and he's not playing a fictional character in a game. He's playing his DJ Earth persona, and there is where there is the disconnect. From anybody that was on the outside when we first learned about DJ Fettuccini in the game, we sort of looked at it as a Dimitri Vegas situation, where it's like, okay, since this person isn't particularly well known around the entire sphere of the Earth, all of a sudden, having just a DJ show up in the same way that we sort of have seen before is like, this is weird. Why the hell would we do this? Which is almost like taking away the actual story behind it. That like Salvatore Ganacci, I mean, I hate to break it to you, maybe isn't entirely a real person. And then I would have to go on and learn more about that. Salvatore Ganacci and the characters that are being portrayed is more close to something like this. And I watched this within 24 hours after witnessing this dude, and it started to make like a little bit more sense. Oh, wait a minute. So this isn't just a DJ. This guy is literally a fighting game character already. A hyper persona in the same way that like Pee-wee kind of has, like Pee-wee Herman, Mr. Bean, respectively speaking. Noromaru and that character isn't a real life person. They are characters, you know? That was not apparent to anybody. Little did I know, and then I had to start like looking up some stuff that, yeah, like this dude is straight up not what I thought. I feel like I am the goddamn Shaq meme. I'm sorry, I was unfamiliar with your game.
Bad news, Salvatore. We forgot to bring the balloon.
So, see any cops around?
No.
This dude and his character is like a circa mid-2000s Skittles commercial or Old Spice commercial. And then you realize when you start watching some of his friggin' videos and shit that like every aspect of the character is so wonderfully preserved. The majority of things that the character is doing in the game are no kidding direct references to his wild ass character in the music videos and shit. At that point, it no longer was about Salvatore Ganacci, the random DJ that no one's ever heard of, just being thrown in a game because their popularity is a thing. Like, no, suddenly you have a wonderfully represented character that is arguably one of the funniest fighting game characters ever made. And you start looking back at his filmography and you're like, oh shit, actually everything's a reference. It is crazy. It's crazy to see how much of this is in the character itself. And it's hilarious, dude. Like, it's hilarious to see every normal, every attack, every idle animation, everything. I love you guys. Like all this weird shit. It's like, whoa. So again, 48 hours later, this isn't just Max is glazing Ganacci because I'm being sent some clothing. There's a reason this is happening. This isn't an influencer thing. People are like, oh, did we get influenced into thinking that this is cool? Like, no, dude, it is cool. That's why this is happening. I guarantee you, bro, influencers aren't going to be able to influence you into thinking something is cool. That is not going to happen. However, when something is actually executed well, when it is done in a way that seems that they give a shit and they're putting a ton of effort into it, when it is done that way and it lines up with the way influencers and streamers are talking, then yeah, then it obviously is fucking cool. And everyone sort of pulls the 180 where it's like, all of a sudden, man, maybe we were too harsh on this guy because he's actually no shit one of the best, coolest characters in the whole game. I feel like this is a very different situation than the general real lifer problem, because the issue has been real lifers and real lifers now showing up in the game. And I think comparatively speaking, one of these guest characters is a real lifer. And I didn't realize that the other one is a character. The other one is not a guy that was born into this earth by the name Salvador Ganacci and carries with him all of his personal legacy and history like another shitty soccer guy. No. This dude is quite literally already a fictional character and is now being put into a game in the same way that other characters have sort of been put into a game, but clearly it doesn't line up because he's not a fighting thing. He's a weird, crazy Skittles mid-2000s DJ guy with a whole bunch of insane backstory and music and all of this stuff, right? It's just that we had no clue. Now I cannot get the friggin' Bosnia Coming to America song out of my head. Now I've been watching every one of these dudes' friggin' music videos and shit and like going back and checking on stuff. And I'm like making sure when I'm like playing, like I'm trying to see if I can wiggle in some of the tracks in here because there's some of the coolest fucking tracks in the game outside of the character literally vibing out that they're in a video game. It's like the character in Fatal Fury, no shit, loves the fact that they're in Fatal Fury. So again, it's one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed on the internet, like straight up. It's one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed on the internet. We watched it happen live, where this dude, quite literally the last thing that we wanted to see. We hoped we were out of this absolute horseshit real lifer revolution that was happening to Fatal Fury that was seemingly sinking the game into obscurity of just trying to like abandon everything that made these games great and just appeal only to a new, broader audience that is only going to be that, you know? And now all of a sudden, the other real lifer is not what we thought he was. And now his appearance in the game feels relatively wholesome, where we all got to discover that live with each other. I didn't think I was going to be coming back and playing Ganacci for 3 days straight or some shit. That was the last thing I wanted to do. This is a game with Rock, Howard, and Terry in it, for fuck's sake, okay? This is a game with like a couple of my favorite fucking fighting game characters of all time. And suddenly, because of the implementation, the tone, and how the character is represented in the game, he's one of the funniest and arguably best joke characters I've ever seen. And he is a joke character. He's not easy to use. He's weird and obscure, and his game plan is not normal. And I think people kind of love that this guy that has no right being here suddenly feels like he belongs. And there's a couple more examples of it. Salvador Ganacci celebrates his victory against Terry. Terry, you ask me if I'm okay, but then you check me with a Buster Wolf. What's that all about? Doesn't that defeat the purpose? And at that point, I read this windscreen dialogue and I completely understood where this guy sits in Fatal Fury, and I love it. And now we're here a few days later, and I'm not kidding you, within minutes. This is within minutes of me posting this video. Hello, Mr. Dude. I'm a huge fan of your content. May I ask for your size and tracksuits? I have a surprise for you. We're watching the Luke thing happen in real time. Mr. Ganacci, I wear a large.